Welcome to Airwave. Airwave is a conversation hosted by me, Morgan Page, where music and technology converge to tell the stories behind the artists and the architects of creativity and technology. Radio is where I first discovered electronic music in the countryside of Vermont, and music and technology provided the path forward. Airwave is an exploration of how people make their art and how technology plays an essential role in the process. The show is largely conversational, but doesn't shy away from going deep and technical in the process. After 500 episodes of In the Air, I felt it was time for something new, a new addition to my podcasts. So over 10 years of doing this, I thought I really want to get started with interviews, interviewing big thinkers, big producers, and talking about real, honest conversations, going much deeper than those surface-level interviews that you hear typically on radio, because you have to do everything in sound bites and really compress those thoughts. So here is a place to just explore honest, deeper conversations about this intersection of music, technology, and the entertainment industry. So my guest this week is production duo Sick Individuals, coming all the way from the Netherlands. They were here in LA shooting music videos, and we happened to pop in the studio. We're actually working on a collab that's coming out on Armada Music later this year. So very excited for this one. And they're some of my favorite producers. They have an incredibly huge sound, very detailed, very crisp. I wanted to dig into their production process, see what makes them tick, talk about the current state of dance music. We go into all different areas of electronic dance music and beyond, talking about their favorite techniques, the future of electronic dance music, thoughts on Hardwell and his hiatus, guys like Avicii, where the sound is going, where things are going to evolve in Las Vegas with all the turmoil, all the changes that are happening there, the evolution of dance music in general, and also where are the venues headed? You've got new venues like MSG Sphere that are really exciting. So lots of changes happening in 2020 and beyond. We're going to go deep into all the details, all their favorite plugins, their outlook, their work process, and more. So very excited to bring you Sick Individuals. Here we go. Airwave is brought to you by RME Audio. Innovative, user-friendly, and high-quality digital audio solutions, RME offers a comprehensive range of audio interfaces, converters, and mic preamps, all based around its unique and innovative core technologies. Multi-platform connectivity across Windows and Mac OS and iOS class compliance has earned RME a global reputation for providing support to all users on all platforms. Visit rme-usa.com to learn more. Take me back to when you were kids or when you were in school. I know you were trained. You went to some music schools.
Yeah.
So talk about that a little bit.
I actually got into music because of my family. I think music's been running in my family for such a long time. My grandpa actually bought like a very nice piano for my mother, and I never met my grandpa, but my mother gave me this piano like a couple months ago. So music has been running in our family for such a long time, and she was a singing teacher, so she was always teaching at home. And while she was doing that, I was listening what she was doing, and I could get in her class for just half an hour at the end of the day and sing along. And so I think that's where my music part came from. And that's at some time, like I met Jim on School of Arts, where we had the same passion for music.
Yeah,
right?
and we had to play our music in like in front of the class.
Yeah.
And I think we thought like the others were not that good, like it were too creative in a way, or like I couldn't get it, like where's the structure, where are the chords. So we left the classroom, and both of us were like, hey man, I loved your stuff, and he was saying the same at my thing. So we were like high-fiving, let's become friends on this school, because we were like, where are we? Because we were like, before we were only making music on our own, and then you come into like a School of Arts and everybody's suddenly making music. But we were the only ones really like getting the vibe over both our pieces. So
yeah, that's true.
We started making music, and to go back into my youth, I didn't came from a musical family at all. My father was listening to a lot of music though, but I was just watching a lot of TV, and I saw some guys playing keyboard, and I was always like, I want to make music that I can do on my own, but I want to do everything. So with a guitar, with a piano only, you can of course play piano or guitar, but with a keyboard you can do so much more with the beats and everything. So as a kid I was really interested in that, and it always sticks to me because still we love to do everything on our own. We love to make the whole production and not rely on band members or whatever. So I think that's kind of like it sticks to us. And I came a bit more from the electronic side. Ray came a bit more from the jazz and the classical influences. So that's what you still hear, I think, in Sick Individuals music.
And I feel like you have more control over your destiny. You know, like instead of waiting for someone to show up,
totally,
you kind of take more control of that. So with the school you went to, was it a composition or was there technical mixing classes? How far along in the process?
Not that much mixing. It's more composition, right? It's
it was like it was actually called like composition and music production that we did,
but there was not much music production.
There was not a lot of production going on. It was more about like the history about music, what we did in the first year. So we had to learn how to write songs. Reading.
They were playing they were playing, for instance, melodies, and then we were writing them down
in
on
notes,
paper in notes.
Yeah.
So your ear got really trained, and that was really new for me. But we learned a lot from that. Solfège, we call it.
Yeah.
I don't know how you call it in English.
I think so. Yeah.
Solfège, yeah. And a lot about history, a lot about classical music, also different scales. So we listened to music in the Western scale, but we learned a lot about the Asian and the gamelan and all the other types of music. That was really, really interesting for me. So it really gave us a different perspective on the whole music industry and the whole music.
And are these private schools or is this funded?
It's funded. It's funded.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, that's the big difference. I feel like because I always look at what's going on in Sweden and why is the growth of music so accelerated there and the Netherlands. And obviously the culture is a lot about collaboration, helping each other out. Whenever I talk to Dutch producers, it's like, how do you guys do this? How is it such a big thing in the culture? It's like as professional sports or something for music.
I think it's really nice because in this time, like this period of 4 years, it really gave me the opportunity because I could actually get money from the government to pay my rent, to pay for my school. And if you would finish the school, they will say like, okay, you can have that money now. If you don't finish it, you have to pay it back. That's the deal.
That's the deal in Holland.
So you're really keen on finishing your education. And it also works in the fact that you can just relax and do your education. And you can really spend all your time on music. Instead of having an extra job here and an extra job there, and then doing all this other stuff instead of music. And now you can really focus just for 4 years. And that's what we did. We said like, okay, if we want to start Sick Individuals, then we're not going to have an extra job on top of this. We're just going to go for the full loan and go work this company,
Yeah.
And I think like after a couple of years, we had our first show. So
you have to be able to focus on it and you're not worried about paying student loans back.
Yeah,
totally.
You're not a mile wide and an inch deep, as they say.
Yes.
I think that's the hardest part with music. Even now, doing it professionally, it's so easy to get distracted and dip into too many different areas where you really just got to build a volume of work.
I think sometimes like I would really like to go back in that time and create music in the way we did back in the days, because sometimes now we're so focused with the whole industry and what everybody is doing,
and branding, clothing,
and listening to all the
interviews.
Are you on TikTok?
TikTok,
keeping up with all the new platforms,
with everything,
staying in balance.
It is hard.
Challenge.
It's like platform arbitrage. Like you got to know when that platform's hot, and then it's old news, and then you can lose those followers. It gets kind of scary.
True. Doing podcasts now.
Hopefully the podcasts are evergreen and they're fun. Yeah. Okay. So after school, moving into that, when were you guys able to do it? I mean, you went full time with it immediately out of the gate, or did you transition?
Our goal was like to earn 800 euros, right, a month each when we left school.
That's like what is it, like
$900?
$900. Yeah.
So we could live from that money. Like we had like really cheap like housing. It's really cheap back then. So and that worked out. So we could continue full time working on it because both of our parents were not supporting us after studying anymore. So we had to have like this minimum wage of like 800 euros a month each. and we managed. So we took some remixes. I think we started a lot with doing remixes. We asked like little money for it, but we did a lot. I think we did like 16 or 17 a year. So with that already, we could like kind of afford a minimum income, and we did also some side jobs on TV commercials. We did some like music for TV commercials.
All right. So how did you guys know? Was there like a tipping point that happened as you transitioned? You're doing it full time. I mean, this was something you wanted to do your whole life. Was there a singular moment where you said to yourself, like, "This is it. I've made it," or was it something that you look back and it's easy to look back and
no, I think there were two key moments. Like the first one, like in terms of remixing, we just talked about that we did a lot of remixes.
Yeah,
and it were all like €300, €400 projects, maybe 500. But then Justin Bieber came. I remember.
Wow.
And they paid like a really good fee. And so we were like, wow, we could actually now, like, that was the kind of key moment also for not money wise, but also going like major, like, because we were, for the first time, we were working with a major company with, I think it was Sony or whatever, who reached out to us.
Universal.
Or Universal. Yeah. So we're working with Universal. It got streamed. A lot of people were playing it. So that was a key moment for us. Like we were popping champagne. We made it. And also the collaboration with Axwell, I remember really well, that we were in Sweden and we sent the track over to Axwell. And we asked him, like, because we were already sending it back and forth and he was tweaking it a little bit, or he had some suggestions on it. And then we asked him, like, should we do collab on it? And then he answered back like really quickly, like, I'm super delighted to. He said, we were like, wow, that's amazing. Like we were back then also like looking up to him. He's such a big inspiration to us. And then he's responding like that. And he even wants to put his name second because we did the most on the track.
Wow.
I think that's wow. I was like really amazed by that. So that was also a key moment.
I think he's a perfectionist.
Yeah, but I think it's also very like it tells a lot about him. Like he's such a big artist, and by then we were just starting. And he said like, well, I'll be the second artist on this release. He didn't think like commercially in a way like, okay, I want to put my name first because everyone is going to say it's my track. No, he just respected the way we created the song, and he added his mix and flavor on the song, and still thought like, okay, this is how it works. So that was really for us an eye opener, also how to work this whole industry. You know, the way he works was very interesting.
Yeah, and also like he opened up a lot of doors for us. Like BBC Radio 1 was supporting us. Like it was starting supporting it after that. Like they were playing a lot of our tracks. And that's a really important market for us as well.
And one of the coolest things we've learned, like for all the music producers that are listening, he told us like, oh, why didn't you guys get a subwoofer? Because do you know what's going on only on your subwoofer? Just turn off your speakers and listen to your song on a subwoofer and listen what's going on. And we were like, okay, we don't have a subwoofer. Okay, let's get one. Okay, which one do we need? And then we started searching for a good subwoofer. Okay, we bought one. And then we started listening. And then we found out there was so much going on in their song that we didn't know. So in the build-up, there was so much low-end
snares going on with
before the drop. And you don't want that, you know. You want that to
you want it to be clear and clean in the sub. So that's a good tip for everybody. Like just
turn off your speakers. Just listen to your song on the subwoofer, or a nice subwoofer pack where you can lie on.
That's right. Coming soon.
Yeah.
I think when I think of Sick Individuals, I think of tracks that in my set are almost reference tracks, sonic references.
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of Sick Individuals that are in my folder. They're key tagged from Mixed in Key and everything. So I'm really curious, and I'm curious for other producers as well. What are you guys doing differently from other producers that is creating that punch? I mean, you obviously have great technique with the sidechain. You're picking the right sounds, but beyond just good sample selection, I know you're doing something extra in that. And you've told me a few little things like little ticks on the side chain and little envelopes, but what is that attention to detail that you guys have that sets you apart?
Good one, because we have a lot of layers in our project. So about the mixing, I don't know, but for us, it's just funny to talk about our the way we work. We never look at meters or anything. So we
just listen.
We just listen. Like we never look at meters, and that's also our fault sometimes, because we sometimes take a little longer, and someone maybe sees it already in the metering. But we just listen, and we put a sidechain on every sound. So we always make sure the kick comes through, even it's a little sidechain or like
LFO tool.
LFO tool
Yeah.
we put on like every sound. So we make always sure the kick will always punch through.
The thing, like maybe what we do differently from other producers is we start mixing the song very loud. So we start creating this song that it's almost distorting, and then we turn it down afterwards. So the mix sounds really like, oh, it's nice now, and there's no distortion anymore. But in the beginning, in the creating process, we only use the right samples that don't clip and don't give the distortion sound. So by creating the song, you already made the right choice using the right samples.
Because on school they learn like maybe whatever start a mix minus 6 dB. And then there's so much room in your mix, you can put every sample in and it still works. So we do the opposite. We start plus 6 dB. So every sample we throw in is already really loud. So we really have to make sure it's the right sample, otherwise it will interfere with another sample.
I feel like you get early feedback with that.
Yeah.
Like I have to start tracks with kicks loud now because you're mixing below that. But if you start everything really conservatively, it's harder to get that volume and punch later on. You're fighting that and you're like, why is my track sound so much quieter?
So that's why
you can put in anything you want if the mix is like 6 dB lower.
So that's why how we like level it down in the end, and then it becomes way cleaner. And because we already make the right decisions.
Yeah.
And also we're not really cutting that. We always cut the low end of samples we throw in, except for the bass and the kick, of course. But we're not so drastically about EQing because it kind of loses the
flavor.
The flavor we feel. If it's too clean, like that's also our sound in a way. Like maybe you can recognize that. Like maybe Dyro, for instance, we will say the opposite. He was also really clean about this part there. But we like to let samples or chords clash a little bit because it adds something to the song and a little bit of randomness. Or
it's easy to over-filter them, I feel like. I've definitely made that mistake in the past where the samples are just a little too lean. They're I'm cutting out too many lows. I'm cutting stuff above 100.
And it starts to get too perfect in some way. And sounds need to interfere with each other just a little bit, just to make it feel like bounce and move a little bit more.
Interesting, yeah.
So it sounds interesting instead of, okay, I can hear this perfectly and I can hear this perfectly, but it doesn't mix.
It's like if you cut out the fundamental, like the foot of the sound, your ear, it can get lost in the mix as well. But
and we do a different mix down on our break than on our drop sometimes.
Yeah.
So a totally different mix on different master. So that's also maybe what you can hear. Like there's a big contrast in our mix downs. Not in all of them, but in a lot of them there is. So maybe if you're talking about impact, that creates an impact because you really the master chain changes while the drop comes in.
It is that so 2 different sessions and you're stemming the mix out, or just
exactly, and
just
then combining them together later on, like just cutting them together. Yeah.
What are your go-to plugins
for the master? Always SSL, like for a little gluing, we say, right?
Yeah. Pro MB from what's
Fat
the brand?
Filter?
Fat Filter.
And
Invisible Limiter too.
Invisible Limiter.
It's in the end. We use now with this pop songs. We do a lot with Avalon, but not even compressing it. Sometimes we do it on the vocals and stuff in the project, but now we just run it through the Avalon and add a little high just to make it sound again more interesting, a bit more human.
Are you using the limiters by ear? Like, are you going, I don't want to do it by more than 3 dB of limiting, or just sort of doing it by ear when it distorts?
Exactly, totally. Everything by ear.
Because I got stuck on that, like, because some engineer was like, it shouldn't be more than 3 dB.
No.
And
sometimes with us,
it doesn't matter.
They go crazy nuts. Going into our projects then.
Yeah. It's like we don't have any rules as long as it sounds good. And one of our new songs that is coming up, we made all these stem mixes of the song and put it through Avalon, and then we tried different compression and we bounced it out again, and then we mixed these stems, and then we put Avalon on top of it again, and then we're like, okay, now the song is like, it doesn't sound like it's coming out of a computer anymore, because we run it through an analog compressor.
And especially with the pop songs, it works. Like,
especially the tubes.
Yeah, the tubes, because if you have to be careful with the club bangers, like if you put that through the compression of Avalon, it feels a little slow, that you lose the punch. So we don't.
Yeah, that snap of the
exactly.
envelope.
Yeah. What's the 747 we have?
Yeah,
I think
that's the one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. I've been using that 737 since college. I think I've had that 20 years.
Still good.
Are the
Still
tubes
working.
still
Yeah.
good?
Yeah, I think eventually you gotta. That is the downside with the analog gear. Like I have an LA2A, and a lot of stuff I still don't really have to have that. It's just nice to have a good, solid go-to chain for tracking vocals.
Yeah.
But when they break, there's like one guy at his house that has to fix the tubes
Exactly.
in
yeah.
the middle of
you
the
have
valley.
have to find the right guy.
Yeah. And now I hear like it's almost impossible to get tape. I'm seeing a lot of producers starting to bring in, getting the lo-fi movement that's going on. Like guys are running stuff through tape heads and running through cassette, and then messing up the tape and crinkling it to get this sonic voodoo happening with the mix. But
there are also so many plugins right now with
Yeah.
tape machine kind of recorders and fixing it. But I think there's still I still have to find the right plugin that could
it's
actually
still different. It feels
give
like.
that kind of feel.
But it's definitely a movement, because like when Skrillex became popular, it was all about getting a next level clean mix or next level wide mix and a stereo mix. Like wow, I never heard this like quality before. But now he kind of picked it, or he kind of like nailed it in that way. And there's like a certain level you cannot go above anymore, or maybe some people try, but a lot of people go now into the tape and whatever distortion and randomness and analog gear again. And that's it works for us.
Yeah.
If you can, it's a decision. It's nice to have this quality of mix. It's really a decision. You go into this more roughly structured mixing, and then maybe another part you will do all clean. And if you combine these two, that's what we always try. Maybe the breakdown is a bit more rough, but then the drop is like super clean. So if you combine these, I think that's the best of both worlds.
Are you guys doing a lot of parallel compression to get that punch,
Yeah.
but not overdo it, like on your buses, things like that?
Lately we do it more and more. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's so key. And one of the things I've wrestled with for years is, we're juggling this balance of we're in this perfect centered studio environment. We actually use the same speakers, the Focal SM9s, which are amazing. They flatter it a little bit, but I love working on these speakers. But you take it to you take it to the club, and every club sounds different. The monitors are getting squished in their own way with the compressor and the limiter on there. There's this dark art to live sound. I'm always thinking about, how much is stereo in the club? How much is getting phased out when it's getting summed to mono? I mean, it sounds like nerdy stuff, and we're here to talk about, deep dives into sound and the creative process. But like, does this happen to you where you're thinking, how much information is getting lost when this is being played in the club, or about the impact? Because I hear so many things on both sides. I hear some clubs saying, "Oh, the whole club's mono," and then I hear some saying, "We're totally stereo and we just sum our lows."
Oh
Interesting.
man, we're not really looking at the clubs that way. But sometimes we did shows where we thought like, okay, it's very important to have this stereo mix, and we have to make sure all the sounds like really wide. Eventually, you find out if you play your song mono, which most of the time we don't even do. We're like, okay, we really need to add some new synths to this project, because you don't hear anything anymore. And sometimes when you're playing in a club and everything is mono, you're like, whoa, I never knew with this song that you just don't hear these parts anymore, because we've never been busy with it.
I think X1 and Grosso, they do a great job at that. Always their main lead, or their really
Their
key
main lead is
elements
always like,
always really mono, and that's also why it sounds so strong in the club, I think.
Yeah.
So definitely, like, we have to look into it, but we always play our songs live for a couple of months before we release it, or we actually try to. So in a way,
we once did a show like in Amsterdam in the arena. So it's like it's in Sensation, and you are in the middle center of the arena where there's a center stage. So I asked like the tech guy, like, okay, but how do you guys do it with the music? Because the stage is in the middle and the speakers are around it, and the crowd is also all around the stage, and the stage is turning around itself. So what do you guys do with the music? Is it stereo? What is it? He said like, it's mono. Everything is mono. And we're like, okay, so you have this big show, and
40,000 people were talking about, like,
and everyone is listening to your songs in mono.
I'm like, okay, yeah.
Because no one is perfectly centered.
Exactly.
And at a club, I mean, and even if you are, there's so much else, other noise happening in the club, glasses breaking, people screaming. You're getting all these new, additional sound sources happening.
Yeah.
Although, I talked to L Acoustics recently, and they have a setup that is, I don't know, it's like 3D sound, and they can pivot it around a stage. They did this thing with Bon Iver where the sound, they're able to group all the instruments and move it around to widen this sweet spot.
Wow.
So to fight this issue of mono being a little bland. But I don't know, it seems to work live, but I mean, you also get issues with outdoor festivals and the sound kind of phases a little bit with wind and stage speakers moving and the elements.
I think there's still so much to gain, as in it would be so awesome to have like a 4.1 kind of club where you could, as a producer, you could play around with the sound and how it would react to the crowd. You know, you start to sound from the front and then you start to sound from all in the back. You know, what would that do to the crowd? Those kind of things is always from the front. You're the DJ in the front. The visuals are in the front. The music is in the front. You're sending it all from one direction. But what would happen if you would send it from 2 directions or 3 directions? You know, what would that do to the crowd?
Yeah, would it change the impact? I mean,
For sure.
No one does it.
Yeah, some people do it, but it's really on a small stage.
Yeah, very small. I think there was some like experiments. But
I think it was cool what Fabric did, like putting subs in the dance floor.
That's
I never got to go experience that. I think it's still going, but it was like a good chunk of the floor, and they had to put a little delay on it so it wouldn't phase things out, because you get this bass phasing and it would just cancel out. But you it would just to be able to have that shoot up your leg, you know, you feel that in your whole body.
It's cool.
Just like the thing we were trying tonight.
Yeah, that was cool.
So I know we'll give some of the listeners a glimpse of this, but building a little fun secret project, full body sound.
Craziness.
Yeah.
I just experienced it. I was like, wow, I'm in a different zone right now.
Yeah.
I think everyone should try that for sure.
Yeah. Well, we can tease at it. It's the only prototype in the world of this thing, but it's just fun to mess around and feel like you're inside the song. To me, you know, we've done some projects with virtual reality, doing some stuff with Oculus, and you know, virtual reality hasn't gone mainstream, but we created some experiences where it's like you are in the song because using 11.1 surround sound, it gets very easy to go down these rabbit holes of technology, and but I still come back. I still love just mixing in stereo, and I love those limitations. And I mean, we're just trying to deal with stereo versus mono, let alone these other issues.
Yeah, but it must be like at some point, like imagine the music always being mono, and then eventually some guy like thought like, hey,
2 mono signals, I can do something else with both.
You know, and then stereo music came up.
Yeah,
you know, there must be some point. I don't know, in 2050 or something, we're getting something different, right? I don't know.
Hopefully, we'll see. Yeah, it didn't change for a while now.
No.
The big push I saw at I do a lot with the Grammys, the producers and engineers wing. They were honoring Dre this year, and everybody was showing their version of 360 sound, which is they're all kind of doing the same thing. Like L Acoustics has their thing, Dolby, Atmos. You know, there's a million different flavors of it. So it's cool for cars. It makes a lot of sense for home cinema. I mean, now they're putting it into all the Amazon Echoes. So there's just not a lot of catalog being mixed in that format. True. But it adds some more spaciousness to it. So it's cool. Maybe for producers, let's touch a little bit more on some stuff that you guys are doing with the mix. I mean, so you mix and master your own work.
Yes.
How do you stay objective?
Oh, man.
Oh, this is the hardest part. Like we are kind of good at it because we just spend a lot of time doing it, but it's not our favorite part yet.
No.
So, or still, maybe it never will. We would love composing, but the mix down, like we have 2 studios next to each other. We have the same speaker setup, but they sound a little different. So we swap back and forth projects, and we both have different cars, so we listen in both cars. And AirPods, like we just listen to on many devices, and crank up the volume of the sub a little louder. Then maybe we got the clubby feel, we do a little less. How that sounds, that's just a lot of referencing. Actually, there's not really one progress, and sometimes we are lucky it happens in a day, and sometimes we're not lucky. We're spending 3 weeks mixing in a record. Yeah,
I think one of the biggest problems while mixing and mastering a song is that the speakers we have and all the systems we have and all the great sound system in my car, they're all so good that I just need like a crappy speaker of $10. That's all I need to listen to.
Just get the Echo, the Amazon Echo. It's the most popular speaker in the country.
Yeah, right?
It's crazy.
Yeah, people are listening to music on that. So, and that maybe distorts it because it can handle all these bass we put in. But on the studio, it's fine. Like it can handle. And also this because we mix so low, we can still hear it because these frequencies you can still hear them in the studio. But on Amazon, like these kind of like speakers, they would not reproduce them. Yeah. So maybe the whole feel changes. So yeah, we are really like for the last 3-4 years, we are really more into that, like because we're making more like Spotify friendly music as well. We wanted to have it's not only for the clubs anymore, so we kind of mix differently now and use more analog sound because they have way more frequencies in them. So for our bass sound, we use a lot of Moog synths, because they touch the low end, but also the warm like frequencies that every speaker can produce.
Are you doing the soft synth versions or hardware?
Hardware and software.
Awesome.
Hardware we sample it, so that's great. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it's so interesting. There's so much new gear. I feel like I'm drowning in plugins with all these different choices now. And it's like, what's going to translate to me now? It's like, what new synth is going to make that difference that it's going to jump out of the speaker in that shitty speaker or those earbuds? Earbuds. Like, I think it's changing how I'm making choices in the studio.
I think like it's getting a lot easier right now. You know, there's so many manufacturers that are already have like the compression and their EQing like
on the synth,
that what do I still need to do? You know,
we had that. We just downloaded the one from. I think everybody had it already, but we downloaded really late from
VPS
Avengers, like from
Avenger, I think. Yeah,
from Nexus, also Nexus, right?
No,
it's the same brand as Nexus. No?
Same sound designer, right? Manuel Schleiss.
I think so.
Yeah,
but that sound that if you just press 2 keys, it's like wow,
it's like done. There's already a limiter on it. Yeah, like because Nexus had that too. I always, especially now, you can really see the processing in the new Nexus 3. Or whatever.
I haven't downloaded it yet.
No,
but
I should check it out. Yeah,
it's great. It's definitely more efficient. I think the software is just in an incredible place right now.
Can you tweak it a little bit more, because that's what's also the downside for me with Nexus.
All the different components. It's not really like a rompler anymore. It feels like a synth, more like a synth now.
Great.
Nice.
And then I'm gonna definitely
we should get it.
Yeah. But like that, we were messing around with Phase Plant earlier, Keyscape. I feel like every day there's 5 new plugin companies that have started, and they're doing incredible stuff where I'm like, where has this been all my life? Like,
right?
Do you guys use that plugin Soothe? I just started using that. I don't know. A lot of guys are using that. Or Gullfoss. Hardwell told me about Gullfoss. I said, what's your favorite secret new plugin? And he goes, Gullfoss. You got to get it.
Gullfoss.
Gullfoss, like an Icelandic waterfall.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Where
like,
you just...
We are really old school on all way. We just like have our tools and we are keep improving on these tools, but we never switch that much on plugins, right?
No.
Dude, don't change it up. It sounds so good.
Yeah,
I don't want to mess up the flow.
But sometimes it's good to.
But it's interesting. Sometimes you do collabs and then people bring in new synths, and then you're like, "Whoa! I didn't know this was actually possible right now." You know, I've been doing it this way for many years, but there's so many faster ways now, and it already sounds better than what I've been doing with all these plugins on top. You know,
that's why we love collabing.
Yeah.
That really works.
It's a little dangerous though. I get my shopping list of plugins, and then, but sometimes one plugin can inspire an entire new song. So
true.
I've tried to keep gear lust at bay. I think that's really important. But sometimes like Phase Plant's inspiring a bunch of new songs, just a different sound, a different workflow. Really, it usually ends up being a workflow change.
Yeah, totally. Otherwise,
get a new expansion pack and
or whatever throws you into a new direction, and you start with a synth line instead of a bass line, and then it already creates a different song after that.
Yeah. So where do you guys think now? Moving forward to present day, with what's happening with EDM and dance music and sort of the post EDM boom. What are you guys seeing? What's your feeling on the climate of the culture right now?
For us, now the climate and the culture, like we don't talk about that much actually. We just talk about our own brand and what we feel like making. And of course we see like we do a lot of shows in Asia, and I think especially 2 years ago, people went pretty aggressive, more and more aggressive, like in the negative, like really like not like aggressive mixing, but I really mean like dark.
Is it more bass focused now?
Yeah, more bass focused, and it never works for us in our sets. So we really never hooked on to that. Like we still kind of have it sounds cool what we do, or like, but still kind of happy or danceable. So
we just want to make sure, like some producers for the last 2 years went into music that was pretty dark.
Yeah, really dark.
If we would play that kind of music, we felt the vibe was going like really tough, and the girls weren't smiling anymore, and everyone was like, yeah, it's like guy music.
Just all energy, just testosterone.
Exactly. It's like,
but also dark, like really like, that's why I say negative, or what I say dark is maybe the better word.
It's more like minor music, so you hear all these minor tones in the song.
No, like all these kind of like little these things. Like we try to avoid that a little bit.
Yeah, or be creative with it, so you don't really hear all these like dangerous kind of songs.
Right,
You know?
the Fisher effect kind of going on. I mean, I feel like things took that underground darker. Like it's cool because you're not really showing a lot of emotion. It's sort of restrained, like baseline focused stuff. Where it's just a different feeling. But I don't play so much of that. You know?
Yeah, for us it's still I don't know. I just want to have a good time in the club, and I think maybe we're just like both really guys that smile a lot. I don't know. We just want to have like a
just like love to bring energy and give like the positive vibes where everyone is enjoying themselves and they forget about whatever they were doing. So no like dark energy or dark thoughts. It's all just positive, and at the end, it's also melancholic, where they're
That's a good
really
word.
enjoying their and feeling the progressive vibes that we also bring in our sets. You know, I think that's one of the best things about progressive music, progressive house. You can get a kind of a melancholic kind of feel, or euphoric. Like it should feel like, wow, this world is actually beautiful, or think about life, that kind of.
But now,
stuff.
like you asked me this question, think about the climate. I'm actually happy what's happening right now because everybody is doing something else. I feel a lot of people are like struggling also, but also like I don't feel we are struggling, but struggling means also experimenting and trying new things, and a lot of people are doing that right now, and I think that's healthy for the scene because people were following each other a bit too much. Now, still, of course, I see a lot of copies of Fisher kind of like tracks coming up, or Medusa, like people are trying to copy that as well. Of course, it will always happen when it's a hit song. People are copying it or doing it for a couple of but before that it was all EDM, kind of the same synth, using the same synth. So at a festival it's a lot more diverse now, and people are a lot more going into underground. Also in Asia, you see people are digging that more and more. So it gives a lot more freedom into our set. So we play the EDM stuff, we play the progressive. We can also dip in a more bass housey, go in between. Especially in New York, they love that as well. We had a show there last week. So yeah, it gives a lot more freedom, and they don't expect you to play only EDM from beginning to end. So yeah, that's nice.
I'm curious to see what'll happen. I mean, as Vegas has kind of come full circle now, because I remember playing my first residencies in Vegas, and it was so novel at the time. Like I started at the Palms, and hearing like, oh, Oakenfold was like had a full-time residency. Like that was so novel because it was all open format DJs, and then now it's kind of circled back to that
right
again, where the clubs have overspent on talent and they've gotten a little exhausted with that, and they're not seeing the same dividends returned from those investments. I mean, like Chaos spent $70 million just on sculptures from Damien Hirst.
Wow.
Like, let alone the talent like Marshmello, and Marshmello's getting paid to not DJ in Vegas now. So
crazy.
It's crazy. I mean, I think there's this boom time, like everything, there's a point of maturity in the market, and then it cracks, and then it's dance music will always have its place. But it did get kind of interchangeable for a while. Like the sound, the EDM festival sound got a little the same.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
I mean, what do you think, guys? What's Hardwell thinking right now?
That's interesting.
Have you talked to him?
Yeah, of course we do. But I think he kind of shares this meaning.
Yeah, he's figuring out to get that feel back. You know, the feel that we have when we are in the studio, we're making a song, and you're like, wow, I would really love to play the song out, you know, and get in front of the crowd and see if they like it or not. He's trying to get that feel back, and the feel of like enjoying your time in the studio and not being
busy with what people think, yeah, and what the dance floor will do. So, whatever. Yeah, but what do you think about the scene? I think he was a bit. I think, to be honest, I don't know. It's my personal meaning about that. Like, maybe I think he was a bit done with it in a way, but now he has to find his new place in it, and also maybe he was not reinventing himself too much anymore. But you have to ask him himself. But I think that's what I feel while talking with him. And now he's really doing that because he takes some time off. He's first not doing anything, and then it comes back naturally from the inside. Like, hey, I want to make music, and it's not your manager telling you like, hey, come on, I need another song next month. Maybe I think he didn't do anything for half a year, and then now he's really like going back into the studio, sending us some stuff. He was asking us for new plugins. We just talked about it, but he was sending us like some text like, "Hey, what's up right now in the scene with plugins and stuff." So yeah, he's really getting back to it.
I think I said this before. Like you have to go back to your core at some point, and figure out what you actually really want to do in this industry. Why you're actually making music. You know, that's a good question. Why are you making music? Why do you want to make music?
I try to think of it like you got to channel that 12-year-old self. There's something magical about that age. Like that's where I got into synths, and it was, if you can go back to that excitement where you felt it in your blood and you just felt like this is the only thing I can do, and I have to do this the rest of my life. And it's easy to get diverted by all the distractions of money and fame and tour life, and you can go down all these endless rabbit holes acquiring gear and property and building up your catalog of music and intellectual capital. So it's you can go so far and get off track, but really, if you're doing great work, the reward for great work is more work. So it's like you got to love what you're doing.
Sure.
Wow, I never thought about
no,
that.
But that's so true. The reward is more work. Okay, yeah. That's a good positive way of thinking about it.
Yeah, because the money won't really sustain that longevity with it.
That's true.
I think we're really blessed in the way that we've been doing it now for like creating music together for almost 10 years, and we still enjoy working together, and we still enjoy creating a new song. You know, we haven't really had that moment where we're like, I don't know what to do anymore. We haven't had that moment where we don't enjoy it anymore.
We really work song based. So for us, starting with piano, vocals, guitar, that's kind of always how we start. And then we can, whatever, like tweak it into a pop song. We can tweak it into a more EDM song. We can tweak it into a hip hop song. So it gives us a lot of freedom. And sometimes we actually do it. We make also a lot of hip hop kind of tracks. Maybe we don't release it, but we just, if it feels good, we just make it. And maybe this also comes from, we both studied music, so we were trained also in like all different genres. Mm-hmm. So and also we take some assignments like ghost producing. We do sometimes for others. We do still some commercials, like TV commercials. So we kind of switch it up and make it interesting. If you only make EDM or take the same sounds, for instance, we don't have a template. We always start from scratch. Not one plugin on it. Like we really open a new project with nothing.
Yeah, I love to do that. Because, there's like I try to make a template one time, like because everyone's like, it's faster, and you already have the great sounds, and I did that, and I was like, I don't know what to make anymore.
It's boring,
I don't want to be like, I just like the open field of starting fresh and whatever we're gonna do now.
And there's no sick individual sample pack. There's no splice pack.
There's some samples on there, but
there are some samples on there, because we work with Dennis Koyu, but but we have our own sample library, of course, and also to be totally fair, we sometimes
we save our presets.
Yeah, so we save our presets. So maybe how it works, like maybe we create something from scratch till 80% finished, and then we add like stuff that's from other projects, and we just import it. And then it adds some, like we just finish it up that way because it's like one hi-hat that works really well or whatever we import it later. But we always make sure we don't import too quickly because we love to make new stuff. And also by remix, we did one remix for Icona Pop, for instance. I love it. A lot of people were playing it out loud and everybody was supporting it. And we got a lot of requests like, can you make another remix like this from my new track, whatever. But we never did it because we tried it once because they offered us good money. We were like, nah, it doesn't really work for us. It's just boring and it sounds too much like the other. Like I want to, and also like kind of like.
That's a good thing and also
a bad thing.
Our
that's why
downfall.
we're so diverse, maybe because
Like when we made I Am with Axwell, it was number one Beatport, and then we were like, if we were smart guys, we would have made 2 or 3 others like I Am, and then maybe we would have big success after that. But we were like, nah, we're gonna make something else, completely something else.
Try something totally different.
Yeah.
That's what I like. I like that you guys are versatile. I mean, you're not just penciling in the notes too. You can play the keys. So many producers that can't play the keys, and that's fine to make music like that. But that ability to do that is so valuable.
It is, yeah.
And to keep shifting and changing and morphing and changing your
Yeah.
sound. So the label's coming out soon. You're gonna have the first release coming out.
Yeah, the first no, we had the first one coming out a couple of weeks ago, and now the second song is coming out this Friday. So new made, it's coming. We really wanted to have a platform that we can have control of everything. We are strongly related to Revealed, of course, because we do all our club songs over there. But we felt like we have some more poppy stuff coming up, and at first we thought like let's collab with a big Universal or whatever. But it kind of worked slowly for us, and we felt also like we tried it with some other labels, and now you can really easily see on Spotify where your plays come from. And for us, it's a lot of release radar, so people just follow our name, and then the release pops up on their screen, and then they just listen to it. So we felt like, why should we not just take everything in our own hands and we do it ourselves?
We were already doing the artworks most of the time ourselves, or the videos editing, or the social media, or all the content we were creating with our team. So why not have a own label and do it for our own label and release it on our own label and figure out the date when we want to release our song ourselves, and not be don't have that struggle with other artists or a sound.
How fast can you get it out? Is it a 6-week ingestion?
No,
or
way
faster?
faster.
Wow.
If we want to release it tomorrow, we could.
We can even do it tomorrow, but I think now we take like 1 week, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That works.
Yeah.
And
that's nice, right? You have your own power.
Yeah,
in
that's great.
that way.
I think now, especially because people are giving a lot of power to the social media platforms themselves, and as the platforms change, as that arbitrage expires on a platform, what are you left with? It's like the organic reach goes down on Facebook, and if you didn't collect those email addresses, you're kind of screwed. You got to own your property, and you got to be building that catalog of intellectual property.
Yeah,
it's true.
So, anything else in the pipeline? So, the label for now.
We just updated the whole show. Like we have a visual show as well. So over the last 3 years, I'm DJing and Ray's VJing on stage. So we changed that concept. Like you were talking about Vegas, they were shutting a lot of the middle DJs down. Like they were still having like Martin Garrix and Chainsmokers and whatever, David Guetta playing there. But we had a residency for a long time in Vegas as well. But the kind of the urban culture came back into the clubs. So we felt like, hey, we have to do something to whatever stand out still. And they have huge screens and huge LEDs in these clubs. So we invented the show that everything is time coded and synced to the music. So, and we wanted to do it on stage. So that's why we decided, okay, let me just only DJ and Ray's only VJing. Nice. And now we just update it every time. And actually this year, 2020, we have a new show with new intros, new visuals. The team created some magnificent, like next level visuals. So that's a new thing for us. And we're touring with that like for this year.
Have you seen the MSG Sphere, that new venue that just broke ground on in Vegas?
No, I haven't seen it.
It's 11 times the size of an IMAX theater.
For real? Wow.
It's infrasonic sound, so sound built, subs built into the floor, so they don't have to drive the system as hard, and then beamforming audio, so they shoot the sound at you. So every person is in the sweet spot of the sound.
Wow.
It's not done yet, so who knows? And there's rumors of issues happening with it, but I know Tau Group is building kind of a mini club within that. But the idea is beautiful. It's weatherproof, and you just plug your visuals in, and you've got this huge sphere ready to go.
Wow,
man.
That's dope. Yeah, I definitely want to play there.
I would like to see how to map the visuals over there. Though.
Yeah, 15,000 people. So you could do a little mini festival and not be worried about winds blowing speakers down at EDC or things getting rained out.
So it's an outdoor venue you're talking about.
It's indoor, but it's shaped like a sphere. And I think there's even LEDs on the outside too. They can even cloak the venue.
Didn't Skrillex do some kind of show a while back, like the Innisphere, like with visuals on?
Maybe one of like the Coachella mini stages,
right?
Or something
like that, right? Yeah.
Cool.
But I think I'm excited to see. Hopefully, we'll start to see clubs reinventing themselves as well as the artists are changing their sound, updating things.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll see clubs go beyond the same old bottle service and same old LED wall and sound system. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. But
and a lot of touring is coming. Like for us, like now, we're gonna play Ultra, so I'm excited about that. A lot of festivals, like we've got a lot of all the bookings are coming in right now. So we're like, wow, we're gonna play all these festivals this summer. We just want to finish up a lot of music. Every 3 weeks we try to release something, like every 6 weeks a pop song, every 6 weeks a club song. So we're kind of changing it up, and yeah.
Great. And we got our collab coming up soon.
Man, I'm so excited about that. We were
excited.
just like listening to it again, like this is, guys, pay attention. It's really good.
Yeah. And, merging some of these elements of a little bit of country, a little bit of pop.
Yeah, man.
For
keeping
both
it
of us,
fresh.
it's different, like, right? We did never put something out like this before. I think for both of us, right?
Yeah.
Right? If I speak for our own brand, like it's something new for us as well.
Yeah, and I think just to have that different kind of vocal delivery that has a little bit of country-ish vibe to it, just something that's different, because I think a lot of vocals sound very interchangeable in this sort of post-Chainsmokers era.
Yeah.
You're hearing a lot of top-line singers sound very similar.
Oh, yes.
And part of that's some of the same vocal engineers working on the projects. Or
Yeah, but that's also one of the
ghostwriters.
reasons why, like, when you send out us the acapella, we were like, okay, this is something we could really work on, and I was just playing some chords underneath, and I was like, okay, this is really dope. We should really work on this song together. And I think because the vocal is so original in that form, and we personally love the more kind of Nashville kind of sound, and that's something we're going into this year as well. A lot more. We've been writing a lot of songs in Nashville, and we really love the mentality over there. The songwriters, the artists. It's just a different way of writing songs than here in LA.
The Nashville system, the number chord system. I still got to learn that better. It's really
yeah,
cool.
but I like it. It's good. Like it's really
simpler.
the original simple with
Yeah.
the original way of like making music in a way. And that's
Yeah.
also maybe how we trained on school. So it kind of like fits.
Yeah.
I think Avicii touched on this area and didn't even fully explore it, like with the first album with Wake Me Up and everything. God, he like dug into it, and I wanted him to keep going with folk house.
That
or
would have
country
been really
house.
dope.
There's
Yeah.
so much more to explore sonically in that world.
Yeah.
Pedal steel, other more folk instruments. Where if you balance it out with enough synthetic elements and to keep some edge to it, I think so
if
much
the next
potential.
big artist jumps on it now, it will, go.
For sure.
That's my prediction. I think we'll
But
see.
now
you never
now
can
you
predict.
see already like a hip hop merging with country, right?
Yeah.
Everything is possible now.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, guys. Well, I want to be respectful of your time. I know you got a busy day shooting videos out
Yeah,
here
man.
in LA.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. This was
Yeah,
awesome.
man, it was good.
Yeah, so we're going to wrap things up. So socials, just at Sick Individuals everywhere.
Yes, Sick
And
Individuals.
what's your website?
Sickindividuals.com.
Keep it easy.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank
All
you
right,
so
man,
much.
thanks.
All right, so there you have it, Sick Individuals. Great interview with them. Awesome to hear real insight into the process, hear what it is that makes these Dutch producers tick and make such amazing music. One of my favorite takeaways from this episode, from the interview, was just hearing how they have a very different way of working the process of starting the mix with very little headroom. It's actually a cool technical tip, a good way to make sure your mixes are going to sound louder later on. They kind of work with those faders up a little bit rather than starting everything super low and then scrambling for loudness later on and clipping and distorting things. They start with great source material, which is obvious, but starting when those faders actually boosted and a little higher, a very unconventional and a very effective work process to apply to your own music. So try that out and see how it works for you. I also think it was really fascinating to see how music education is so different over in Europe. The fact that in Sweden and the Netherlands, it's government supported and everybody has such a big leg up on the competition because they can make music for a living and not have to stress about school loans and worry about making it a viable income stream from the get-go. So a whole different way of doing it. Very difficult for a large country like the US, but this is obviously a big reason you're seeing so many amazing hit songwriters out of Sweden and out of the Netherlands as well. Whole different system and approach, smaller countries with different budgets, but very effective for changing the course of music and the entertainment industry. So hopefully you enjoyed this episode. We're going to be back next week. Got some amazing guests on the way. And let me know your feedback. Hit me up online. Would love to hear your feedback on the show. And if there's any questions that weren't answered on there. So I try to be the voice of the listener and get those burning questions down, get those answers. I've always been wanting to ask these artists. So let me know online at Morgan Page, and I'll see you next time. Airwave is brought to you by RME Audio. Innovative, user-friendly, and high-quality digital audio solutions, RME offers a comprehensive range of audio interfaces, converters, and mic preamps, all based around its unique and innovative core technologies. Multi-platform connectivity across Windows and Mac OS and iOS class compliance has earned RME a global reputation for providing support to all users on all platforms. Visit rme-usa.com to learn more.